שלום בחילך שלווה בארמנותייך יהי שלום בחילך שלווה בארמנותייך יהי שלום בחילך שלווה בארמנותייך יהי שלום בחילך שלווה בארמנותייך Peace within your walls, peace within your walls and prosperity within your palaces. Peace within your walls, peace within your walls and prosperity within your palaces. Peace within your walls, peace within your walls and prosperity within your palaces. Peace within your walls, peace within your walls and prosperity within your palaces. Peace within your walls, peace within your walls and prosperity within your palaces.
So welcome everyone. We are Ruth and Gil here in Jerusalem. Very excited to do this webcast with you. This is the second one we release out there, maybe I'll hand over the one to Ruth to take the lead from here.
I so enjoyed our last program because it was just really good to be able to talk about like why we're doing this together and just to clarify some of those things. So if you want to know why we're doing it, then that's the program to watch. But we're continuing with a few themes over the next 3 programs, and we thought we'd start this week with Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. Who are the people of Israel?
Well, in the scriptures we find this 3-stranded cord issue that which repeats itself a few times, and these three, the 3-stranded cords basically include these 3 elements: the people, there is a chosen people, the Jewish people, and then there is the Torah, God's word, the Torah, the first 5 books in the Bible, with all the commands and rules, right, of how to live your life, what is the right path to go on, and the third one is the land. So basically, there is no chronological order with it. I mean, this is like a 3-piece puzzle, and once one piece is missing, the other 2 pieces cannot exist, just like that. I mean, something is missing always, and so the Jewish people basically is, as the Bible, as they are described in the Bible, as being a chosen people. So God chose Abraham at the beginning, and then Abraham was given all the blessings that he was given, after going from his homeland and trusting, going on, just having the faith in his heart. And we talked last time, about the the need to let go in a way and to serve it as an instrument. So, and that was Abraham.
So when God says go,
you should go. You should go.
Do we need to ask where?
Exactly, because he wasn't even asking where he was going, right?
Yeah.
So and then all the blessings that he got after that, the blessings passed on to Yitzchak, to Isaac, and then to Jacob. as God Himself is telling Abraham, and He's saying, you know, there will be a people, and there will be a land. They will have a home to live in, and you know there will be a covenant. So the covenant was established with Abraham for his descendants to serve as God's chosen people. And you know, if we needed to start talking about the purposes, you know, and you know the targets that the Jewish people have, I think there is obviously more than one. You know, sometimes in the Bible, you know, there are no reasons mentioned. You know, God doesn't explain anything about why there is a people. God is just saying that there is a people and there is a covenant, and I will, you know, I will stay faithful to you and you shall stay faithful to me and keep my word. And so there is no, I mean, God is not reasoning in some in particular places, but in other places it is explained. I mean, for example, as you shall be a light to the nations, for example, and you shall carry my name, you know, all throughout. And also the very simple thing, right? And the first thing that Abraham was told is that, you know, all the families of the earth would be blessed through you. Through you.
Yes.
So.
When I think for many people, and especially maybe if you haven't been here to Israel, but I think for many people, we have a picture of who Israel is in the context of the Bible, in the context of the Tanakh. We read about who Israel is. We read about Israel's relationship with God. But then I look at Israel now. I look at the people of Israel now. Let's keep it at the people of Israel. And so, you know, one of the first things I noticed when I came to live here, and obviously when I was visiting too, but it took me a while to figure out there are many different streams. If we're talking about religious Jews, there are many different streams of there's orthodoxy and there is not orthodoxy, and so, like, for instance, I know you don't like sort of putting things into specific terms and everything, but you would be called a modern Orthodox Jew, right?
Yeah, I'm probably under the stereotype of as modern Orthodox. The reason I don't like the definitions, you know, like modern Orthodox and ultra Orthodox and Reform and conservative and Reconstructionist, I think there's a lot of presupposition in that. Yeah. And once we label ourselves and other human beings, which is even worse, we minimize, you know, the opportunities to find the common denominator between us, because, you know, he's labeled as being that and he's labeled as being that. And I think maybe even one generation ago that was possible to do, but today I'm convinced that it's just impossible. I mean, you find, you know, amazing things and amazing ideas and an amazing presence of God in places you wouldn't even expect it, with people you wouldn't expect. I mean, to the outside you would say, you know, what do I have in common with that guy? But then once you start talking about it, I mean, you just see how full of God He is. Yeah. And that's why I don't like the definitions and all these labels.
A lot of presuppositions.
And a lot of presuppositions. Also, I mean, towards outside of the Jewish world, right? I mean, I'm sure that you know a lot about, I mean, streams within, you know, the religion. I mean, streams within Christianity, for example, different types of churches, different streams. And it's more or less the same within Judaism. In Judaism, it's the outcome. I mean, well, it is a consequence. It is a consequence of being sent into exile 2,000 years ago, because I mean, up until 2,000 years ago, where we've had, I mean, the Second Temple, which was destroyed year 68, and you know, the Jewish people was sent into exile by the Romans, and you know, they were spread all over. And basically, I mean, different communities were formed, and because of the geographical, I mean, distance, and the fact that there was no communication like today we have, right? Just pressing a button and all the data is out there. It's so they had a lot of difficulties to keep everything unified. So different communities all over the world basically developed different customs. And so the core is still the same. They keep the same things, but they keep it a little differently. I know it, I mean, personally, from my family. You know, right. my my dad was born to Holocaust survivors coming from Poland, and my mom's family came from Iraq. So obviously, when they got married, they had, different customs, and
well,
they
that's
had
quite unusual in the time.
very much. Yeah, they
Yeah.
married like back in the 70s, and they were like, they were what they called back then. Intermarriage. It was that much. Jews coming from different places in the world. They like to stay amongst their own community.
But the interesting thing for me as a Christian, in our Christian world, we talk about the body of Yeshua, the body of being His body in the world. But there is, I don't know, there's something about the Jewish people as a people. It's a people. Like and it seems to me the thing that I've noticed is no matter who you are, if you're Jewish, you definitely know where you belong.
Oh, well, my first relationship with God, my initial relationship with God, is first of all through me being part of the Jewish people. First of all, it's not me as Gil the individual. First of all, it's me, Gil, as being part of the Jewish people. The word people in Hebrew is am, which has the same letters like im. Im means with. And being a people is something very central in Judaism because, there are 613 commands listed in the Torah, in the first 5 books. And you don't have to keep them, don't worry. And
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Part of those commands are commands which were given to us as a people. As an individual, I cannot keep that. I cannot keep those commands. There are commands which are restricted only to be practiced, to be kept as a people. It is that central. So, even when we pray, there is this aspect of not praying by yourself, rather like pray in a little group of like at least 10 people, a minyan. So there is always this.
But you do pray by yourself too.
Well, you can. Of course. Well, it depends on also what prayer. Well, you can pray by yourself if there are no people with you and you need to pray because that's something you have to do, so you do it. But first of all, the aim is for you to pray in a group of people.
Right.
It's to be part of a whole, and that's first of all. It's about a corporate experience. It's not an individual.
Right. But I know you enough to know that sometimes in conversation you'll say something about how you prayed to God or you asked Him something and and you saw something.
Oh, for sure. Well, I'm sure you know this because we have different relationships probably with God. There is God, the King of all kings, to be treated with lots of respect and and the words I would choose I would choose them very carefully and in higher language. In some cases I would approach Him in that way that He is the King of all kings, Master of the universe, the Creator, the one who gives the Holy One, the one who gives life, all that. But there are also moments in which I would approach Him in my most daily language and as being my closest friend. And I think that's the beauty of it because of who He is, which we don't really know, right? We believe in what He is, and because of what He is, He can be, He can be both, the King of all kings, but yet your closest friend. You would approach Him in different cases as in a very honorable way, but on the other hand, you would in other cases you would be able to approach Him very intimately. So this is the thin line that God is.
That He is our. For me, that He's our Father. Not in the sense of a distant Father, but in the sense of a loving Father, in the sense of the Father that gives us strength and that gives us courage and is there and comforts us, and we just know that because he's around, everything's going to be okay. That kind of sense. I always remember.
It's like my dad is going to be here any minute, right? Okay, so
that too. I remember when my kids were little, and one of the things I used to love to do was go up the stairs, just a few stairs. And then they'd jump, right? and so you had to catch them, right? Yeah. And I remember writing a song at the time that was something like that, that whole sense of just jumping into the Father's arms and knowing that there's no way He's not going to catch us.
Yeah.
But we'll never know that if we don't jump.
I think it's a matter of how strong is our faith. I mean, the stronger your faith is, the more likely it is that he would catch you, obviously.
Well, the more he will catch us. It's I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think the faith is depending on whether we'll jump or not.
Okay. That is also true. That's true.
So, just you mentioned earlier about being in exile. What would you say, like in our modern times, like I know, like you'd say that the people are back in the land, but they're back in the land. Is exile over?
Well, it depends on what level of exile we're talking about, because from one hand, we come to Israel and we see it, and you're all invited to come and visit in Israel and like to enjoy the beauty of it and everything which is going on. It's really great. And so on the one hand, we see it being built, and and like the Jewish people has come back to the land to some extent. Well, not all Jews, but at least half of the Jews. Jews came to Israel from 102 nations. From 102 countries, Jews were gathered into the land for the past 65 years. It's quite amazing.
Yes.
And and all of a sudden, after 2,000 years being apart, people from 102 countries had to find a way to serve as one people, because that is our destiny. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So you're asking if are we still on exile? So on the one hand, I mean, we see what's going on, and it's very encouraging, and and Israel is being built, and the Jewish people is coming back. But on the other hand, we have to remember that we're not there. We're not fully there yet. I mean, the Jewish people coming to Israel, which is, by the way, Zionism. This is what Zionism is about. I mean, returning to Zion. I mean, the Jewish people returning to its home. And so, obviously, we're not there yet, because the completion of that process would be salvation, and would be having the temple back and having the manifest presence back. So I mean, something is going on, and there is a process here, but we are still not at the end of the process. So we have to we need to be encouraged and inspired by what we see, but we also need to use it as a reminder. And I think I've mentioned that in the film as well, the film that we did, that in many cases I use the things I see as a constant reminder that there is a way to go. You're not there yet. So
can we just backtrack a sec? You said we don't have the manifest presence. I know you're talking about the connection to the temple, which maybe we can talk about another time. But that little phrase, the manifest presence, in my world as a Christian, it's a phrase that is we use quite a lot in terms of when we really feel the presence of the Lord in a meeting, and we'll often ask for His manifest presence, that He will be there in that kind of a way. When you say manifest presence, what do you mean?
I think, well, if you allow me to comment on that one, I think there is a great advantage in that. I mean, the great advantage is that there is no fear of using the term the manifest presence. I mean, there is no barrier between myself as a human being and feeling the manifest presence. I think that's great. And I think we have a lot to learn from that. I mean, just lose that fear, because we as a people, we've had the manifest presence. It's in our genes. I mean, we've been there, and I deliberately say we have been there, because I genuinely believe that our souls were there in Mount Sinai, and being redeemed, being taken out of Egypt, going through the process in the desert, and then coming to Mount Sinai and seeing the voices, as the scriptures, as it is found in the scriptures, seeing the voices, seeing the flame of God, the fire of God, and this is something that which is engraved on our hearts. I think this is just a thought, but I think since we've experienced that almost physically, then anything below that is not considered to be the manifest presence as we know it. So
it's like we're getting getting glimpses.
Glimpses, and like little sparks from the huge flame
Yes.
that which it is.
All those really
And-
special moments when we feel God's presence.
Yeah, so
and we've certainly experienced. I mean, we've experienced that when we've
So
done meetings together.
there are definitely levels of revelations, right? Levels of His presence. So Jews are very, very careful with saying like, wow, this, like, I could really feel God in the room. We're very careful about that because we are used to, in a way, you know, I mean, in Mount Sinai in the desert, and then the temple in the desert, you know, the tent of meeting, and then the temple in Jerusalem, temple on Temple Mountain, you know, the presence was there. You know, it was there. Like we could actually see it. You know, we're talking about times that all naked eyes could see God's presence. And so anything below that, anything which is not really that, we're being very careful about saying, you know, this is the manifest. Because if this is the manifest presence, then there is no way for you to be able to feel it and I won't, or to see it and I won't.
We all would.
You know, so that may be like a level of it or like a glimpse of it, but we're very careful about, you know, pointing at something and saying, wow, that was really a manifest presence moment. It's just not part of our dialect. But I think that for 2,000 years it took us to a place where we started to maybe be afraid of saying this is the manifest presence. Maybe we are missing something, you know. Maybe we're missing points which are really the manifest presence. So either way, I mean, I'm just describing the situation. I'm not judging it.
Yeah.
That's why I said that for me, I mean, to hear you speak about the manifest presence and, you know, having God in your life. And I remember the first conversation we've had, you know, it was our first lesson, a Hebrew lesson, and you were saying something about prayer, something very simple in Hebrew, something
Must have been
something very simple, but so, you know, but it penetrated into my heart. And I remember like finishing that lesson and then talking to my wife about it, saying, you know, I've just had like a very interesting conversation about the essence of prayer and the manifest presence and all that. And I remember telling you know, that's how ignorant I was. I remember telling my wife, and she's not even Jewish, you know? She seems to know a lot about it, but yet she's not even Jewish. I mean, how could that be? You know, as if we own God. That's
really interesting.
it's that ignorant that I was.
Being here in Israel, being called here, I think a call for many Christians. We relate very much. There's a verse in Isaiah, the first verse of Isaiah, chapter 40, where God says, "Comfort my people, speak tenderly to the heart of Jerusalem." And I remember one time, I suddenly thought about it. Thought, who's God actually talking to here? Because I always assumed it was to the nations.
Do you remember the time where we were at the old city? I mean, talking about that.
I do.
It was it was the first. Well, for me, it was a new insight on that verse because, you know, the verse, as you said, I mean, it's Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. So basically, you were giving your thought about it and saying, well, God is talking to the Gentiles, saying, comfort, comfort my people. But I grew up thinking that God was talking to us, to the Jews, saying, have comfort my people. Yeah. And then when, you know, like I went back and like looked at it and I started to think about it, that, you know, it's neither here nor there. It's not this meaning and it's not that meaning, but yet it's both. Because the words are Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. If it were the case that God was speaking to the Gentiles, then it would have been Nachamu, Nachamu, et Ami. The word et is missing. But if it were the case that God was talking to the Jews, I mean, have comfort my people, then it wouldn't be Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, rather Hit Nachamu, Ami.
Be
so
comforted.
Basically, it's a godly syntax, and it means both. But
just like the whole of the scriptures, there's
it's quite
how
amazing.
many things can we look at and kind of go, well, God is saying this, but he's saying this too.
Can I ask you something? What is the comfort to you? I mean, when you read that verse, I mean, what sort of comfort is being talked about?
I think for me it would be to say to you, that God loves you with an everlasting love. And as a Christian, I would add, and he's shown that through sending Yeshua. But for me, it has to be more, what's the word? I can't just stop there. Like his everlasting love for you as a people is an eternal love. It's not something that he's changing his mind about. And so that's to bring that comfort. And then, I mean, that's why one of the reasons I'm here in Israel is to play my violin for Holocaust survivors, because that's where the whole journey started for me, was around the Holocaust. So to be able to play over them and to comfort my people, not through words, it's through letting God sing over his people.
How does it make you feel? I mean, how does it make you feel believing that there is a chosen people who deserves, you know, this eternal love that you were talking about? How does it make you feel being a Gentile, being a Christian? How does it settle?
Well, I think it's enlarged my sense of who God is, because otherwise, if everything's all about me as an individual, or even about the church, but then I don't see that God, if I don't recognize that God's had a plan right from the beginning, and that God has chosen a people, and he is faithful to his people, and that everything that's happening in between is part of his plan. And if I don't see that, if I don't acknowledge that, then I'm basically saying, well, you know, so church has replaced Israel? Is that what we're saying here? And how could that be? How could God be a faithful God? How could God be true to his promises if he changes his mind and changes his attention? I mean, that's nonsense. So how does it make me feel? It's like it's like touching the very heart of God, I think, for me, and feeling that, emotionally feeling it.
And you know, if we go to the place where it was said, you know, by Isaiah, you know, comfort my people, and we bear in mind that this was the time of destruction of the temple, and the people were and you know, the people were it was the beginning of the exile, and you know, going into exile, you know, and being spread all over, you know, our unity being taken away. This is something that has really damaged the Jewish people. Really damaged it. It damaged it probably more than anything, because our whole sense of being is being united as a people to serve him in a unified way. Once that has taken away, it takes a lot of comfort to, you know, in this case. So
and comfort isn't cheap. It's not cheap on either side. To the one that brings the comfort, often there's a price, and it can't be offered in a cheap way. Comfort has to be. Comfort is costly, I think, because it means the one who's comforting has to die to themselves in order to.
I think also the person being comforted
has to be willing to.
It needs to be willing to be comforted, and it takes, you know, humility from both sides.
Yeah.
It takes humility to say, I need that comfort. You know,
well,
I need that comfort.
Yeah.
And
so true. It's like when our hearts need healing.
Yeah.
We have to admit it before God.
Exactly. To admit our weaknesses.
Yeah. So
let's play these words.
Yeah, I love this. Nachamu.
Nachamu, nachamu, ami.
Yeah. So I hope that as you watch this at home, you can even just sing this along. I mean, for me, as I sing it, I feel this is. I'm wanting to say this to Gil, to his people, and it's this very special for me. This is one of those moments where I might say about feeling the presence of the Lord. I just know that this is so much His heart. It's so much His heart. Wow. So we come to the end of another program, and really enjoyed being with you. Don't forget, you can check us out on our Facebook page, Between Heaven and Earth, if you want to keep check of the things that we're doing. And if you're coming here into Israel and you're coming to Jerusalem, be sure to get in touch with us, because we do meetings here together with small groups. And on my website, if you're wanting to support what we're doing and to help us to be able to continue doing programs like this, then please, you'll see there that you can do that. Next week,
what's going to be on the next program?
Next program.
Yeah.
Well, the next
I'm
program.
excited to hear what's going to be on the next program.
Next program, we're going to talk about the Torah,
Okay.
which I know is so central, totally central to your life and to the life of your people. So, and becoming increasingly so to me as I understand the role that plays. Let's finish with the song that we love so much, and Ani Ma'amin. Yeah, crying out together for Mashiach. We're hoping by the end of these 4 programs that you'll know this song, and you'll be singing it in your sleep, and so just tell us the words of this in English again.
So the words are: I believe in complete faith with all my heart and soul in the coming of the Mashiach, and even though he delay, despite all that, I will wait for him. I will wait for him every day. He will come.
שיבוא בכל יום שיבוא share